Well, fellow gun owners, we really need to talk about this. Today we're going to look at a situation that happened back in February, but now we have newly released drone and body cam footage, so we can actually highlight what is going on here in this specific situation and use that as a catalyst for gun owners going forward and how we can prevent this almost entirely. But instead of talking about gun control and instead of talking about locking your firearms up, which is totally negates the fact of why you need one, let's focus on the things that we can actually do that are reasonable and do not infringe upon people's rights. So let's look at it, and whether you agree or disagree, let me know what you think down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So this comes out of Albuquerque, and like I said, it happened back in February, but we just got this footage. Let me show you a little bit of it.
40, 40, 40. Drop it now. Drop it, doesn't it?
I don't even have the gun. I don't have the gun.
As you can see, we have a 7, a 9-year-old with a gun. This is not a great situation, right, at all. This drone footage, I think, is actually crucial. They talked about it, too, being a crucial part of this. And it kept them visible from the sky, so there was no mistakes if they thought they saw the gun raised, or it didn't have to escalate the situation more than it needed to. Dealing with younger ones like this, that's a sticky situation, right? I think these cops actually handled it well. So you notice the cop moves in, deploys the beanbag, scares them. They're able to disarm them and, no injuries, nothing like that, which is great. But what I did notice is that the kid, when he raises that gun, it looks like he knows what he's doing. He has both hands on the gun in a correct manner. He puts it down at like the low ready position. And even though they both have their fingers on the trigger the whole time, I think that plays into there was some kind of training in the household, but the whole being responsible with the firearm part of this were either completely ignored by the kids when they were trained or by whoever was teaching them, presumably their parents. The gun here, it's a Sky, probably a CPX2, could be a 1. Either way, it's definitely a Sky 10-round magazine, chambered in 9mm. It does have a long double action trigger on it, typically, and they all have like external safeties. These are not guns that I recommend ever at all, but it actually benefited everybody in this situation, to be quite honest with you. The fact still remains, this isn't great. So, of course, there's been situations like this in New Mexico, Albuquerque, and all throughout the United States. According to statistics, there was 355 unintentional shootings that happened by kids under 18. 163 of those resulted in somebody losing their life. And there's been situations where the kid, unfortunately, has lost their life, a sibling, parents, injuries. I think in that same year there was 193 injuries. So where they estimate 30 million kids live inside of households with guns, in the big scheme of things, of course, statistically, it is not as big of an issue as some news media will make it out to seem. So I guess they got these stats because, if you go to the doctor, they can ask you, right? Some places won't ask, but some do, right? Hey, do you have guns in the household? Never answer that question. It's no every single time. Again, it kind of goes back to gun owners' privacy. That's not respected by a lot of politicians out there, but it absolutely should be. I say no to that. That's just my humble opinion, of course. But talks of gun control aren't the only thing that come out of situations like this. Now, there's 25 states that impose safe storage laws of some kind, some ranging from misdemeanor charges and fines to even felony charges, depending on what happens in that specific situation. You have some states like Florida, North Carolina, Texas, Colorado that actually impose civil liability. So if your child gets access to your firearm, they end up hurting somebody or worse, parents can be held liable for that. This starts inside of the home, right? If there's, let's just say, 30 million kids that are living around guns, every single one of them should know about that firearm, how to properly use a firearm, the implications, the dangers of firearms, telling children, that these are a part of our foundational rights, depending on their age, of course, but they should be always treated with respect as well. So teaching kids, not shielding them, but teaching them the proper handling of firearms, this starts with all of us, right? Every single parent, and this is something that we can all do, right? Taking your kid to the range with you. They got a campaign, South Carolina, and probably other states too, right? When you go fishing, take a kid with you. Very good for them. Well, same with going to the range. Take a kid with you. Show them how to properly use that firearm. This is something that would probably cut down on a lot of these incidences all the way around, because curiosity is something is really hard to kind of break out of kids, especially the younger they are. Now, it's normally you're talking about kids from 12 to 17, but sometimes it is younger, just like in cases like this. So it is our job to teach them, not shield them. That way they don't learn about guns from other people or sources that are totally incorrect. Now, safe storage is another one that I believe in strongly, but there should be no mandatory law telling you you have to keep your gun locked up. Here's the thing with safe storage, right? It makes sense, especially the younger that your kids are. They don't know anything about guns. But you have to have that firearm easily accessible if you actually need it, right? What good is that gun locked up with a trigger lock and a 17-digit code and, like so many barriers to get to that gun when self-defense, home defense, all of these things happen and can happen within mere seconds. So this is where biometric, RFID, hidden storage compartments, quick access safes are all something that you either bolt down, you bolt to the wall, you keep it on your bedside, whatever. But there are so many quick ways to have the gun locked away. It needs to be something very quick and accessible, but still, you're the only one accessible to that actual firearm. And then any guns that aren't used for self-protection, right? Having a safe it's just a good idea anyways, right? It's going to prevent your investments from actually being stolen, or at least it's going to take a lot harder for a thief to actually, if they were to break into your home, it's going to be a lot harder for them to actually steal those firearms. This hold-up displays wall, having lockable doors and having upgraded kick plates, such a useful thing, by the way. But also, I have a locking option on this thing, so I can run cable through the firearms and lock it to this wall. So there are some great options out there that are super accessible and still are safe enough where kids can kind of be around and they don't have access to it. The difference here is safe storage laws don't make that distinction. They say locked up in the safe, basically inaccessible to everybody, which totally defeats the purpose of our constitutional rights. Nobody should be telling you what you can do with your firearms, but it is our responsibility as parents to make sure our kids can't get to them and to educate them. Now, some people will use video games, movies, and music as a scapegoat, and while you definitely need to know who your kids are, some more heavily influenced than others, I do not believe for an instance that especially movies, video games, are necessarily linked to children wanting to then play with guns. Music can maybe have more of an impact, but to be quite honest with you, even that I think is a stretch. What isn't a stretch is the fact that a lot of these incidents actually happen in single-parent households. One study from the National Institute of Justice found that kids that are in single-parent homes are 279% more likely to carry guns illegally and be involved in other illicit type of activities. The DOJ, the CDC, they agree as well, right? When you don't have any kind of disciplinarian, right, mainly fathers, to show kids consequences and to teach them, and having the nurture side as well from moms, it's so important. It leads to so many different issues inside of our society, including unintentional firearm shootings like what happened here. Fortunately, this situation didn't turn out like that. But, building a culture, or I should say rebuilding the culture and glorifying families that stick together is going to set your children up for a higher probability of staying out of jail, staying out of trouble, and being involved in anything illegal. By doing that, you are really setting them up for the rest of their lives to be successful, right? You're giving them a much better opportunity anyways. And while divorce and stuff, it can't always be avoided, right? Sometimes I understand it has to happen. In certain communities, we've said that, hey, leaving your kids and not being around for them is totally fine. And I believe this has been detrimental in more than one way, but definitely when it comes to some of these incidents. There you go. There's my opinion. Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold 'em down.